Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about John Tavares and my thoughts on where he could potentially land coming into the next offseason. Now John Tavares, the 27-year-old center, of course with New York Islanders for all these years, for a long time, and his contract is setting down now with, he had a $5.5 million contract, and he's expiring right now, so it's in the next offseason. It's going to be a UFA, so he's going to have a lot of more options there. He's past the RFA phase, he's on to the UFA phase now, so now he can control his destiny and decide where his destination will be going into next season and for probably the quite few future, because his contract, let's face it, is probably going to be for a long time. Even though we don't know exactly where he'll sign, we do know the general, idea of what a contract will look like. A lot like a Jack Eichel deal, where he'll get $10 million, possibly for 10 more years. That'll put him at 37 years old when that contract expires. So it's not too out of the realm of possibility. I'd say that 8 to 10 years is probably where he'd want it. I'd say like 7 is the lowest. He really wants a term contract. I would believe that. And even if he doesn't get the $10 million, I feel like if he got 10 years, he would settle for like an 8, possibly, or a 9, possibly $8 million contract. If he gets a term, I think that he would go for a little bit lower. So it's all about what team wants and what Tavares will sign with. I mean, there's a lot of options that he can take, especially with a lot of teams looking to want to sign him. Even though a lot of teams don't really have the cap space right now, there are a lot of teams that I bet are going to make at least an attempt at Tavares. He's going to have a lot of options where he's going to want to go, and there's going to be a lot of interesting options for him. We'll know at the time, but it's going to be pretty much confirmed that a lot of teams are going to be going for him. And honestly, why wouldn't you? If you have the cap space, it's really just a no-brainer. At least make your attempt, right? Now, it's worth noting that in the regular season, this season with the Islanders, with 82 games played, he had 37 goals, 47 assists for 84 points. And if that isn't enticing for a lot of teams, I don't know what that is. I mean, 84 points is great. It's a career year for him, one of the best that he's had, and he's pretty much in the middle of his prime. You know, you enter that until you're in that 24 to 28 range. So he's in that middle area. He's still in his prime though, and he's still set to make a great run. Again, if he's healthy, but in these prime areas, I think he's going to want to get that, and it is pretty enticing. He's in the middle of his prime. I wouldn't say that he exits that until he's like 30 to 32. I mean, these are still prime years from Tavares, and I think a lot of teams would be foolish to not at least attempt at making a run at prime Tavares years. Now, it's going to be interesting to see when Tavares gets signed. We know there's always the asking price if he's going to be available, if the Islanders don't re-sign him. He goes on free agent market, but it's all about when he re-signs. I mean, if he doesn't re-sign them straight away, he could linger in the free agent market for a little while. Of course, his asking price would go just a little bit more down as the weeks go by, and potentially his price could be a lot lower if he ended up not getting signed by anybody. It could be a weird option if Tavares maybe took like a 1-2 year deal because nobody was really signing him. That opens up a lot of options for a team like, I know it's been speculated, but like Toronto or Vancouver, there's a lot of options for a shorter deal. A lot more teams I think would be interested in that, and it would create a lot more options and frankly a lot more drama. But if he does get signed early in the market, he's probably going to go for the expected 10 by 10. But if he gets sent towards, the latter part of the free agency and he still hasn't signed yet, his price could go down, his term could go down, and would look a lot more appealing to a lot more teams. And you might have a few teams like 5 looking for him at the beginning of free agency. But again, if he doesn't get signed, it could be a lot more. It could be 10, 15, 20 teams that are just looking at the option of having a Tavares with shorter term, with still having Tavares at a good contract. And if he asks for less, that's going to be very, very enticing for a bunch of teams, even more than if he's just looking at the free agent market a couple earlier months in advance. Now, with that being said, I do believe that John Tavares will be signed early in the free agent market. I don't think that he'll linger like I said before, but I do think that he'll be snatched up pretty early. I think a team is looking for a first-line center. Might overpay, but I don't think he's going to be snatched up pretty quickly. Now, to give you some idea of who he could sign with, teams that would actually be interested in him, that could actually have that cap space, let's look at the top 10, most free cap space, or the teams that have the most cap space going into the offseason. You start with Arizona, $16.1 million, Carolina, $15.7 million, Edmonton, $8.6 million, so you got a big drop-off between Carolina and Edmonton, but still, Colorado, $8.1, you got New Jersey with $7.5, Montreal, $7.1, Florida, $6.8, Vegas, $6.2 million, Buffalo, $6.1, and last but not least, on the top 10, you got Winnipeg at $5.1, them being in the conference final, and Tavares being there. I don't know how that'll work out, but maybe it could work out. But those are the 10 teams that have the most cap space going in the offseason, and some interesting options there. And out of those teams, those are slim pickings. I mean, Arizona, are they really going to spend $10 million on Tavares? They could, but are they, same with Carolina, are they going to spend $10 million on a guy that's, will help them for sure, but they haven't spent money really ever in their franchise history, it seems like. Are they really going to repeat? Are they really going to break that kind of streak now? Are they going to be different? I'd like to see them actually spend money, but are they going to do that? I don't know if that's realistic. Yeah, Edmonton, they're pretty much stuck. Even though they have $8 million in cap space, they should use that for the RFAs that they have. I don't think that they're going to have too much cap space going into the Tavares thing. Then you got Colorado, who is also going to have guys coming up. I think you had guys like Rantanen who's going to come up. They got some really good options here, but to sign Tavares would really get them stuck in the hole. You have New Jersey, which they could pull it off, but I think Nico Hischier is already there as a first-line center, but maybe that could happen if they trade off a couple of guys. That could potentially happen. New Jersey, I could see happening. Then you got Montreal, who I'm saying is the favorite for it. They're going to have to get some cap space ready for that, but I do believe that they are ready for that, and I feel like they're the team that probably leads that conversation. With Florida, they already have their first center in Barkov. I don't see them having Tavares and having to switch up to Barkov on the wing or having Barkov on the second line center. That just would not fit for Florida. So Florida, I'd say, is out too. Then you got Vegas, who... Vegas reasons. So I'm not going to count them out for anything. I'm never going to count them out for anything. So Tavares is a Golden Knight. Book it. But next, you got Buffalo. They could get him, but they have Eichel already. Why would Tavares want to go to Buffalo? That would not happen at all. Then you had last Winnipeg, which maybe. I mean, if Scheifele wants to move, Scheifele would have to be the second line center, right? Or Tavares making a second line center. It would create a little bit of controversy because Scheifele is a first line center, but Tavares is a first line center. So what do you do there? Do you put either or as a winger? What do you do there? Because you can't have two guys like that, or to not have a controversy. It has to be someone like a Crosby Malkin for that to work, and both of those guys have accepted their roles, so they're going to have to make something really acceptance, and they're going to have to let go of you guys. I mean, Hellebuck for them is an RFA for this season. For the Jets, it would have to take a lot of moves, it would have to take a lot of finicking, but for Tavares, that might be a destination where we want to go somehow, some way. Who would have thought that Winnipeg would be a destination that good free agents would want to go to, but Winnipeg would have to make a lot of good moves, and a lot of moves to get rid of cap for that to actually be feasible. And of course, the other option, and probably the most likely option, is John Tavares staying with the New York Islanders. Now, I don't know if he wants to really stay there. He's been loyal to the New York Islanders this whole time. I mean, that's a lot to ask from a player to be there forever and to be on a team that, even though they have the offensive pieces, they have really nothing else. I mean, does John Tavares really want to stay on a team while he has the teammates to back him up, the very, very good teammates offensively? Though, does he really want to stay on a team that probably won't make the playoffs next season with that defensive core, with that terrible defensive core, and with the goaltending lack? You got Halak and you got Grice. I mean, does Tavares really want to stay there? That's probably going to be the biggest question. If he resigns there, we know that for sure, but does John Tavares really want to go on a team that obviously isn't looking too good right now, everything apart from offense? Does Tavares really want to be a part of the sinking ship that might become the New York Islanders? Does he want to become on another piece to the New York Islanders where they are good on offense but just cannot convert anything else? John Tavares, if he stays in New York, I still think that is the most logical option for him and for what will happen here, but again, it's going to take a lot of commitment, and John Tavares has stayed loyal in the past, so maybe he does that again. But again, it's going to be a lot to ask for a guy to stay there for his whole career, for a team that hasn't really given him too much. It's going to be a lot to ask, and John Tavares could possibly get more money somewhere else. So I do think that while John Tavares has been loyal to New York Islanders, it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take New York Islanders a lot to kind of keep him over on their side. Unless John Tavares gets another great offer, I think that he's probably going to look somewhere else. He's going to at least consider the option. And for the New York Islanders, their franchise basically depends on this move. If John Tavares goes away somewhere else, it could be a franchise deciding a move for both Tavares and the New York Islanders. If he stays, that's good for them. But if he goes, it could be something catastrophic for them. Wouldn't say that they're like a terribly worse team after that, like they just somehow are like not even a 20-win team. but it would be a big issue for them. Of course, having Tavares, having that hole is going to be huge for them going into the next season if they aren't able to keep him, but they are going to have to figure this out sooner than later for sure. And hockey players usually do look where the money is. If New York gives him the money and he's already been there and he's already been loyal before, I do think that he'll be able to stay there. I think that would be a good decision for him, but if other teams offer him more money, he still has been loyal for this whole time, so at least going for the money option. It's not like he's a scumbag or anything. He's looking out for himself, so it would have to be down to the money thing. Like, where would he want to go? Does he really want to be on a team? And there could be teams that offer him more money that could be looking more promising. Let's say Carolina changes their ways and decides to go after Tavares. They offer him more money, more term. I'd say that Carolina is looking a lot better right now than New York. I'd rather be on Carolina than New York for sure. So it's all about what other teams offer him and how New York is going to proceed going into the future about how they're going to negotiate with John, because it's going to be a huge decision for John to make, and the league could be different from now on. But going back to the main question at hand, will John Tavares stay with New York Islanders, or if he would decide to go, where would he go? And I feel like New York, I think they're going to try their hardest to send just some kind of message to Tavares to stay with them. I feel like that's going to be their main priority off season. Just sign Tavares at all costs, and it may take a lot of moves, may take a lot of stuff to happen, but I think they're going to have their best effort. I know that for sure. But New York, if they make mistakes, there's lots of other teams knocking the door to take Tavares' number, and they could do it. There's a lot of teams out there that are competitive for this. So New York really can't make any mistakes with this. They're going to have to be perfect with this. They're going to have to entice them pretty well, and other teams could do that very well too, so they're going to be on their A game too, but there's other teams that could definitely sway him. But if I had to guess, you'd go somewhere else. I'd probably say Montreal. They're looking to be not a great team, but a better option than New York, I guess, but still, they would probably give him a lot of money. They'd probably look for a first-line center. It fits for Montreal. I don't know if it quite fits for John Tavares, but it definitely is a key target for Montreal. I feel like that's a perfect guy for them to go after. I think they will try their hardest. So just another option in Montreal. They're probably going to try their hardest. There's lots of teams that are going to try their hardest to get Tavares, and New York can't just be another team. They got to be able to get this, and they got to be able to keep them. But Montreal, I'd say, if there's any team that Tavares goes to besides New York Islanders, if he stays with them, I'd probably hedge my bets on Montreal. It is a safe bet, but I feel like Montreal have the biggest motivation to go after him. But more often than not, these superstars usually do stay with their team. I mean, just like at Stamkos, he stayed with Tampa Bay when there's a lot of rumors for him going somewhere else. I mean, we just seen over the past few years, big free agents, staying with the team and not really shaking things too much. So John Tavares, he might be an exception, but I feel like he will stay with the New York Islanders. I feel like having that, it wouldn't be a change of scenery, but I feel like staying with what he has gotten for the past couple of years is going to be good for him. I feel like he's going to be another one of those guys that, people rumored to be going somewhere else. People thought that he was going to go somewhere else in free agency, but ended up sticking with his team all along. And my for number one prediction for where he will go in the offseason, I predict that even though New York has problems, even though New York has not done favors both in the team that he's been given and just overall the morale, I do believe that John Tavares will stay with New York. I do believe that he will stay. He will be loyal once more. Even though he really has not a lot of reasons to stay there, I still think that he'll be able to stay there if the New York Islanders give him a decent deal. I think that it is probably the best option for New York, obviously. But for John Tavares, I think he will stay in Long Island. But that's going to do it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe. Share with your friends if you haven't. Tell me down below what you thought of this video. Where do you think John Tavares will go? Will he stay with New York? Where are the other options that he would go? Maybe other teams would give an attempt at him. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.